other one away, plug it back, I can't really see. I want to clean it up.
Here we go then, we are underway, and what are the starts like then? It's a great start initially from that Team Darkside Golf, but it is the number 1 car of Jackson and Fishley who take the lead going through Coppers now. How about the rest of them? Darren Goes has managed to get his way up to 5th place, but I think that's Steve Houston there, and number 70 has shot his way up towards 3rd place. He had an amazing start in that Porsche there as they made their way through, but Jackson and Fishley heading their way, leading the field. We've got a car stranded on the starting grid. It's the number 33 car of Diagnostics and Puncher. The Marshals and the Orange Army definitely trying to push it, see if they can maybe bump start it, but they're trying to get the car off the road and maybe even into the pit lane just to get it out of harm's way.
You're right, it was an absolute stunning start from Intelligent Money Racing when Porsche came in, but immediately Thorny Motorsport and their iconic purple BMW try and find their way back through. They were much, much quicker on the straight. They went up the hill side by side, but it still came in leading BMW for 3rd. At the front, Seat leading VW, so Darkside not able to convert pole into 1st, but this race, unlike the others, plenty of time to make it up, and also ways you can make up the positions with strategy in the pit stop. So far more opportunities, far more tools at their access to try and regain the lead.
Not a great start for the number 33 car then. The core racing car shared between Alex DiDonato and Benjamin Puncher. That's been pushed back to the pit lane. It's now cleared the track, so the track is clear coming down in towards the start-finish line. So a great job by the Orange Army to get that car back into the pit lane. It's fantastic, as always. The Orange Army at their best there. So making our way now, the cars through Barn, and it is, of course, the Jackson-Fishley combination, that NGM Racing number 1 car leading the way, Team Darkside in 2nd place, and then it's the Thorny Motorsport car in 3rd place, getting back ahead of Steve Houston there in the Intelligent Money Racing car, 4th place right now. Then it's Darren Goes, I think that's in 5th place, so he's managed to get 1 position at the very least. He's now on a mission now to try and get those positions back.
Yeah, Goes looking racy, as is the Jackson and Fishley car that's in the way, beginning to open up a gap to the VW of Darkside. And is looking to have good pace in the early stages, but a long race, plenty of time for the Darkside car to come back at them. And as you mentioned, Mango's Racing already beginning to hassle that Porsche Cayman. Once running in 3rd, now in 4th, and before too long could be 5th, because the Mango's Racing pace is looking much stronger than it was in the qualifying session.
Absolutely, and whatever was the gremlin in that car, they seem to have got to the bottom of the problem, and maybe now with a little bit of race pace as well, hopefully they've got that car running as well as it can. The difference now is they've got to try and make up those positions out on track. The NGM Racing number 1 car still in the lead, so it's Team Darkside in 2nd place. Then it's Thorny Motorsport in 3rd in that number 20, and it's Red Seal Racing, I think they're in 4th. No, in fact, who was it in 4th place? Was Houston got back ahead? Yes, in that Porsche. Yes, he did. The Intelligent Money Racing car in 4th place. Then it's the Red Seal Racing car. I didn't actually see him go to pass through there. He might have done, actually.
And I reckon if you look carefully, the Team Banana Clio has a bit of front damage. I reckon he's driven into the back of somebody at some stage, which is not as well.
That one, that's for sure. As the leaders pass our commentary box window, I did see Darren Goes. It's because he's right behind the Intelligent Money Racing car into the slipstream. He goes, is he going to look for a move up the inside? He certainly thinks about it. He tries to open the door, but Steve Houston just about gets through there and holds on to 4th place in that Intelligent Money Racing Porsche.
Yeah, Goes knows that it's important he makes progress now, because the gaps at the front staying pretty constant, but the top 3 gap back into this battle for 4th is ever increasing.
Yes, there's a bit of front damage to that number 37. You're absolutely spot on. The bonnet's slightly up, and there's a lot of damage to the front bumper as well. So good spot there. Number 37, that is Jackson Moore McKechnie combination there. Driver gets out to have a look at the assess the damage, and what will the team do? Well, pull off the front bumper. That seems to be the way to do it. Have a look at any internal damage, see if the car can really get back out.
Tell you what, I'm going to have to start turning my microphone off every time that silver and yellow Porsche comes by. It's the Boxster of F&G Racing. It makes, I think, the loudest noise that we have on track at the moment by some margin. Darren goes from Anglos Racing, again looking to the inside. I reckon a dive bomb is somewhat imminent from this guy. He's got so much in hand on the brakes. He'll brake earlier than the car headman, then lift off to make sure the gap doesn't get too big, and then brake again. He's just playing it safer though, because he doesn't want to end up plowing into the back of somebody, but he's got a lot of pace in hand.
Speaking of closing gaps, Team Darkside have really closed into the back of the NGA Racing 1 car, and they're right on the tail then as they make their way on towards the start-finish straight, on towards Coppice. They will go past the commentary box window. That's a gap that's coming down, and coming down by a tenth of a second on that last lap. That Team Darkside car, obviously we know it's a quick car, but we haven't seen it at race pace yet. Meanwhile, Callum Noble with the Thorny Motorsport car just at the fast lap of the race at 38.4. He's now starting to close in on the lead pair.
Yeah, that Darkside car, to me, the way it's performing is we have to have quite low tyre pressures because we heat them up a lot once we're racing. So the first couple laps weren't too strong, but now everything's up to temperature, is in the correct operating window and beginning to unleash that pace that we saw in qualifying for the Darkside team, the VW, ever closing in. And we need to get it done pretty quickly because behind them, ever closing in as well, and the pair of them is that purple BMW Thorny Motorsport. They're not out of this one yet as they all approach the gooseneck. They curve through a tighter line for the Darkside VW, again showing that there's maybe a little bit more grip, a little bit more pace available, but it wasn't enough to get the move done on the brakes. Will there be a move on the brakes this time from Mango's Racing? Certainly tried it, but a big defence there from the Porsche means that it's still that Cayman leading, although again it's slow on the exit. This time the Mango's Racing car up the inside pushes it a little bit wide. That's aggressive.
He's done it though. The Mango's Racing car has got the move done, and Darren Goes moves up a position now, so he goes into 4th place. His next target now will be Callum Noble, who in turn is closing in on the lead pair by a race of knots as well. So at the moment then, it is the NGM Racing number 1 car leading the way as they'll emerge in my sight out of bar now and onto the start-finish straight. And I can see there the Thorny Motorsport car is closing, and closing quickly as well. Looking at the last lap times then, all 39s at the front row. Noble, fastest lap of the race again, 38.2. He is closing in at a huge rate of knots now.
Yeah, and amongst all of this, Darren Goes in his stare. Well, we're thinking, yeah, go on, top 3, have a little bit of a fight, because at the moment your podium positions are definitely in reverse pace order. Your quickest guys running at the back of the group, so you feel like a huge fight is somewhat imminent, and all of that will help the Mango's Racing boys. They're in that green set with the green Union Jack on the top, and it will put pedal to the metal in an attempt to try and take advantage of what would seem like a battle that is brewing at the front. Your front 3 curl their way through Chris Curve, then into the gooseneck, and it's actually the BMW that is now closest to the VW. Those are the 2 W's, just to make it difficult for us in the commentary box. They're closing up together, and it's a little gap, but it's more of a gap than there was between first and second.
Absolutely. That's a close eye on that one as the battle for the lead enters in towards the mountains now. The Team Darkside car, then it's the number 20 car driven by Callum Noble, the Thorny Motorsport purple BMW. Their way now through. And that's a really close battle. Whereabouts is the Mango's Racing car? I think they're coming towards it. There they go. They've got Mango's Racing car in 4th place, Houston in 5th in that Intelligent Money Racing car. Then it's Red Seal Racing in 6th place. So 3-way battle for the podium, 3-way battle for 4th place. I'm liking this race so far, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's coming together. Like we said, the start was the key. A few of the cars quicker off the line, but not actually quicker over the course of a lap. And now it all begins to come together again. And before you know it, we'll be in pit stop period, and it'll all get shaken up even more. The front 3 as 1, the 13 follows the 1, who's being in turn followed by the 20. They run together. You could tie them together with the shortest piece of string, a little bit of a loop potential in the brakes from the Thorny Motorsport BMW, comes to nothing, bails out of it without really losing too much time, which is something we've not seen often throughout the course of this day. So still hooked onto the back, and at the moment it's a case of who's bravest, who wants to try the move, because if it goes wrong, you'll get passed by both of the cars behind you.
I'll tell you what though, that number 20 is really on the pace right now. Thorny Motorsport passes that once again, 38.1. It's a huge margin that they're closing it now, but now they're going to be right behind not only the number 13 car of Team Diagnostics, they're also going to be behind the NGM Racing number 1 car, so that's going to hamper the pace for now, but it's one thing catching the car, it's quite another thing passing it.
Well, I think the Thorny Motorsport almost passed him by accident into Mansfield. He got on the brakes at what you can only assume has been his normal braking marker for the past few laps, and the gap between himself and second place was closing, and for a moment it looked like there was going to be a little bit of a tap, but the corner just about came in time. They turned in, no contact was had, but now he knows where the move is. It's on the brakes down the hill, because he wasn't even trying and he almost got an overlap.
Yeah, top 3 now make their way in through Coppice, line astern almost between them. Then the battle for 4th place comes into my view, and the Red Seal team really want to try and find their way past the Intelligent Money Racing Porsche and number 7 through Coppice they go, and that BMW taking a slightly wider line, that Red Seal Racing car, but at the moment just putting the pressure, applying the pressure to the Intelligent Money Racing car 17.
Again, I think there's a look at the top for Park Corner from the BMW, so much stronger than the VW ahead of him on the brakes, but again, can't quite get enough of a car alongside to claim the corner. The VW is able to turn in, wipe the nose of the Thorny Motorsport car, and as a result, it's still as you were in the top 3. The NJM Seat at the front, got the cars behind him, but yet to really come under pressure, not having to go defensive, conserving the tyres, all because of the amount of pressure the car at the back is applying.
Absolutely, and just to take your attention away from this race just for a second, I've just been informed that we will be able to try and get some CNC Heads Championship qualifying after this race, so it's not over yet after this one. There will be an attempt to run the qualifying after this race, so do stick around and see those cars try and get their qualifying positions ahead of their racing. Back to the action though, it is the NGM Racing number 1 car leading ahead of the Team Diagnostics car. Then is the Thorny Motorsport car. They're coming into my view of the coverage watch window and past the start-finish line. Right astern at the moment though, it's just a bit of a waiting game at the moment. Almost like a chess game near 100 mile an hour. It's quite great to see.
Yeah, they're almost waiting for somebody to make a mistake. If the leader makes a mistake, he'll be 3rd. If second place man makes a mistake, he'll be 3rd. Third place man makes a mistake. To be honest, I think the Thorny Motorsport car could probably close in, so he'll be trying to force the issue up ahead, but they are still equidistant. Closing in again comes the Thorny Motorsport car at the end of the straight. This time is able to find the inside, but isn't able to find the overlap. So he's had the overlap, but not had enough of the inside. He's had the inside, but not have an overlap. He just needs to somehow try and put 2 and 2 together, which is clearly quite difficult, to be fair to him.
It is going to be very difficult, isn't it? As you'll see as this race develops, we're quickly approaching the pit stop window opening. Remember, drivers have to make a pit stop. In that window is a mandatory 1 stop. I always say 1 stop, don't worry about it. Mandatory 1 stop made, that is a minimum pit lane time of 2 minutes. It's important the minimum pit lane time is 2 minutes, not the pit stop. The pit stop can be as long as you want, but you've got to be in the pit lane for a minimum of 2 minutes. And that will happen around about 15 minutes into this race, so once the race reaches 30 minutes left on the clock, the pit window will open and it will close 15 minutes for the checkered flag. And I wonder how it's going to shake up these battles we're having for the lead between the top 3 there. Then you've got the next 3 of Goes, Houston and the Seals for the battle for 4th place. And you've also got little pockets of battles elsewhere out on track. The Thorny Motorsport car has dropped back slightly on that lap behind the top 2, but still within striking distance, still within range. So not to worry about just yet. But I think drivers will just be looking at that pit stop window, and they'll be looking to see when they can make those stops. That 22 Mango's racing car looks really good in a straight line, but the Porsche behind looks good in the corners.
Yeah, and the fight we haven't really discussed too much is also totally wild in terms of cars being driven. You got the 944 of Team Air Supply, that's bright blue and orange. You got the Team Norfolk Renault Clio, and you've also got in there your Cater and Supersport of FTP Motorsport. Those guys running as one for a number of laps now. Nobody quite knows where the progress, but the Clio seems the quickest of the bunch on the straight, which I'm not sure I would have anticipated, but either way, he's trying to make it work to gain a position.
Just an update on the...
Oh, there's damage. There's huge damage on the front of the Thorny Motorsport car. It's missing the front. It's just not there, I don't think, unless I'm being completely deceived. You'll come around to you. I don't think it's steering straight either. Weaving around for a moment there. Something's not right. There's been a huge incident at the top of the circuit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That front end has received quite a bit of damage, and that, if they make the pit stop, I think it would be just inside of the pit window there. So, yeah, as you say, there's definitely been some sort of incident that's happened somewhere out on the circuit. I was just going to give an update on the two cars that are currently in the pit lane. The number 37 car, the Jackson Ryan McKechnie car, they're still working on the car, but drivers have since taken off their lids and it's being left to sort of see what they can do. It's not looking hopeful there. Number 33 has had it up for quite some time now. The pit window is open and the first car in, the Thorny Motorsport car, to me, that is going to count as their mandatory stop if they so want. So if they can get that car turned around, if they can get that damage sorted, if they can see that the car is going to work okay, then this will be their mandatory stop.
Yeah, I'm looking for damage on the back, but I don't think there's damage on the back of the VW. Has he hit a wall somewhere? Because I don't think this rival has damage.
Oh no, the Thorny Motorsport car, I think that's their day done, unfortunately. I've just seen one of the crew give the all is on well sign. And I think that's unfortunately the end of the day then for the number 20. That front bumper has actually got wedged underneath the car, so it's probably caused a little bit of underside damage as well. But one of the engineers had a quick look at the underside of the car and instantly said, switch off, it's over. That's so sad, that's so unfortunate.
Yeah, it's never what you want to see. The bright orange BMW E36 for Red Seal Racing is now beginning to apply a little bit of pressure to the intelligent money Porsche. The Mango's car just gotten away by a few car lengths, and in turn the Porsche now comes under pressure. No sign of a move yet, but we were saying the Porsche very good in the corners. It's also losing out on the straight relative to the BMW, so potentially a slightly easier move on offer here if you can just set up the corner exit.
Absolutely. Just looking at the body language of Callum Noble there. That's a hard one to take, of course. But it's unfortunate there for the team. They were looking really good. Meanwhile then, into the pits comes second place. The Team Dockside team are in for their stop.
Well, this is a bit of strategy, isn't it? Looking for the undercut for sure. A lap later will be the one car still out on circuit, exiting.
That's down. That's it. So the Team Dockside team leave the pit lane and away they go. Most importantly for them, they rejoin in clear traffic, or do they? Because here comes Darren Goes. Will he try and move up in towards Coppice? He's going to think about a move up towards turn one. Did he get the move up? I don't think he did. The Team Dockside car just about held track position. Now he will be a lap down on Darren Goes there, but I don't think there'll be any attention for the Team Dockside car to let the car go through.
Whoa, and immediately Goes is passed by the BMW. Brilliant move from Seal in the orange car. He got underneath Darren, but Darren Goes is slowing. Darren Goes found his way through on the lap down Darkside car. Darkside back through immediately on pit exit. And then, I think Goes has lost power coming out of Charlie. I'm trying to spot where he is. Yeah, he's dropped 10 car lengths or so. That's a few seconds he's lost already. And he's going very, very slow. That might be the end of the Mango's racing day. Whatever gremlins were plaguing them earlier, I think have returned.
It's such a shame if that is the case, but maybe they give it a kick and see if they can get the car going again. Hopefully that is the case. At the moment, though, it's not looking good. Blue flags will be waved at the drivers. However, it's not mandatory that they jump out of the way. It's just to warn the driver that there is a faster car, there is a car that is a lap ahead that will try and pass you. It's their responsibility to pass you. It's not your responsibility to let them pass by changing your line. Stick to your line, it's their job to pass you. Race leader then, number 1, Jackson Pidsley, are in the pit lane right now. Driver change is happening as we speak. So let's see then, that Team Darkside car will be coming through any moment now. There it is, heading through now the start-finish line. This is going to have to be a lap to remember then for the Team Darkside Motorsport team. Can they do it? Can they take the lead? I wonder.
You'd say normally they could, but they did get disrupted for a little moment. It was only a couple corners by the Mango racing car, but that could be the half a second that it ends up mattering. We're talking that small of a margin. Credit for a moment to the 99. That's the orange BMW I've been referencing, tucked up behind the potential race leader, the dark side BMW, and just staying there. Not gone anywhere. It's been a couple of laps now, at least a lap and a half he's been following, and he's quite happy just to sit there. Brilliant pace from the 99 machine.
Absolutely. They're trying to just go long into this stim bend just to make sure that they can get that clear air, because there's 4 cars in pits at the moment. Of course, it's a narrow pit lane here. We've got 3 cars that are, you could say, that are being serviced in the pit lane that I don't really have an intention of coming back onto the track. 4 of them are still in this race. It's a very, very busy pit lane. There's not a lot of space there. Space is at a premium, so it's probably an idea not to pit lane now, because it is such a busy pit lane. There's only, I believe, 3 drivers yet to make their mandatory stop. It's the 99, the Red Seal Racing team, then it's the number 68, the Team Air Supply team, and then I think the number 3 car, the second NGM Racing, the number 3, which has just passed my comments box window, also yet to make a mandatory stop. As far as I can see, every driver and every team that's still in this race has made at least one mandatory stop, which is exactly what they need. Here comes then the number 1 leaving the pit lane. It's going to be very close. Here comes the Team Darkside car making their way down the start-finish straight, and they're going to take the lead then up through Coppice. Team Darkside take the lead then of this race. At least on paper anyway, they've gone ahead. So that is exactly what they wanted. That has worked perfectly.
It was by such small margins as well. We said that half second might matter. An extra couple corners behind their rivals, and it would have mattered. So the pit exit to the 13, absolutely crucial. They now lead, and by some margin, the tyres on the Seat have cooled down. The one car is now not quite able to stay with the Darkside Motorsport in the early stages. They'll have it all to do, and crucially, they'll have the pass to make on circuit, which we've seen be really tricky in these machines.
Mango's racing car now leaves the pit lane, is rejoining back onto track then. So Darren Goes is wanting 4 and rejoins onto the track. And of course, we say they're taking the lead. There are drivers ahead that are still yet to make a stop, but they're well within that sort of 2 minutes then. That they do make a stop, they will fall behind. So it's a net lead. That would be more accurate to say. Number 24, FR Racing Car leaves the pit lane ahead of the number 68. I think that will be critical as well. The number 68 yet to make a stop in this race. But that Red Seal Racing team, they know they've just got to keep their own pace, because the battle for 3rd place, they're not battling for at the moment. They're just going to make sure they keep their own pace and make sure that they get the pace that they need. And now it's a relatively quiet pit lane with just about 2 minutes 40 seconds on the clock before the pit window closes. And here comes the MGM Racing number 3 car into the pit lane to serve their mandatory pit stop. Will number 99 come in? No, the Red Seal Racing team stay out. So this will now pretty much be the last lap of their stint out there before they have to make their mandatory stop. As long as you pit in before the pit window closes, your pit stop will count towards that 2 minutes. It's just making sure you enter the pit lane and trigger that entry line before that 2 minutes expires.
Joe, he's still looking very strong in this one. The pace of the 99 BMW. One behind a different leader now, but again staying with them. They're following the NJN Seat, and they're sticking with it. The gap to keep an eye on when they come out is they were fighting with the Mango's Racing and with the Porsche Cayman. So if he comes out, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a huge margin between those two once the pit stop's been completed, because the pace has been absolutely mega.
I'm just going to correct myself, because there's still 5 minutes of the pit window, isn't there? Yeah, I've got that slightly wrong.
Yes.
There's actually a couple of laps left for the Red Seal Racing team, as well as the number 68 then of Team Air Supply. So there's still a couple of laps. I wouldn't like to be the one that makes the last decide when to hit, although luckily for me then, number 68 is coming into the pits now. The Team Air Supply Porsche 944 into the pit lane then, so that was the penultimate car to make a mandatory stop. So they're in the pit lane to serve now. So, pit window is still open and will be open for just 2 laps left in this race. I have to say, that's a great call from Team Darkside. They got the pit stop first, and they had the advantage of, the warmer tyres, if you like, and they got that move done. What helped as well was on that lap as well, they got their fastest lap of the race, their the fastest lap of the race at 37.961. And here comes the Red Seal Racing team into the pit lane now, and that's the last car still in this race to make their mandatory stop. But instead of steam coming out of the bonnet there, hopefully that's steam anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on this one, because this Red Seal racing car is potentially going to make up a whole bunch of places in this. They were running behind both Groves and Hewson, the Cayman and the State Cup racer, respectively. The Cayman has ended up being just over 20 seconds ahead of the Mangoes racing after the pit stops. The question is, where will it be relative to BMW? Will the BMW be somewhere in the middle? Will it slot it out ahead? Because those are two cars that were trapped behind the struggling green Seat, and now have been unleashed, although one did their pit stop early and one later. So we have no idea what the pace comparison is going to be like.
Slippery surface at the bottom of the mountain being shown by the marshals there. So I wonder if that's related to the steaming number 99 that's coming.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Maybe a bit of water. So drivers just being warned about a surface change that wouldn't be normal, basically. They wouldn't show if it just starts tumbling down in rain, because it's kind of intuitive, but there might be a bit of particles from the track.
Something you can't see until it's underneath you, which is the scariest kind of surface change.
That is definitely a scary surface change. Having a look at the 99 car there, they're having a bit of a briefing before the car goes out. And of course now with the trusty stopwatch, making sure that they are within the 2-minute minimum pit lane time. If you don't want to receive some of those penalties, a lap penalty is what you receive for even going about a tenth under. There's a huge amount of grass that's been dug out of one of the cars out there. I'm struggling to see who it is. Yeah, a huge amount of grass. And there goes then the Seal Racing car. As they now rejoin the action, they rejoin behind the Porsche. That's an important one for the Intelligent Money Racing team. They rejoin ahead of that BMW.
Like you say, absolutely vital. The BMWs look really, really quick, able to stay with leaders. But in free air, despite not really having a comparison, despite not having a reference, the 70 pink and blue Porsche Cayman comes out ahead, but not by much. A few car lengths, a couple seconds, sure, but not so much that BMW can't see them, and that's the encouraging part. The BMW, the 99 car, can see the target site. That's where I need to get to in just under 20 minutes. I know what I'm going to do. It's right there. You can visualize the target. You can go, right, I was quicker in that corner, I was slower in that one. You know where to improve. Whereas the Cayman's working completely on its own.
Yeah, so at the moment then I think we'll go through the order, because every team has made their mandatory pit stop and has now rejoined onto the track. It is the Team Darkside team leading the way. MGM Racing 1 are in second place. And then it's by my interpretation, Intelligent Money Racing currently rounding off the top three, because of course we've had Callum Noble in the pits, and obviously the Jersey Sisters are there not rejoining the race, unfortunately. So that's going to promote the Intelligent Money Racing team now up into third place.
Yeah, that is big game. You're running 5th or 6th or so, and had just dropped to position before the pit stops. You come out, suddenly you're on the podium watching, wow, I played an absolute blinder here. The hand was full of trump cards, I think, is what's happened there.
I think so. I think you're right there, as we'll see how that all plays out in the closing stages of this race. Only about 50 seconds of the pit window left open, but that doesn't really matter anymore, because every team has made their mandatory pit stop, so that's not a problem whatsoever. And 3 cars in the pit lane, and the number 33 car of Core Racing, number 37 car Team Banana, and the number 20 car of Core Nemo, all in the pit lane, and all the sheets retired from today's season.
There's a few cars, a few team names in the current championship standings who aren't here on the entry, but I think are quite worth it. Mangoes Racing, Banana, they're good names, but in the championship you've got Seriously, Motorsport with a question mark, you've got Goblin Racing, you've got something that I cannot say. I'm surprised that one made it through the admin, because that's just not able to be said on commentary in 8th position. And then you've got a few more normal ones, a few pretty standard ones. Then you get down to Team Bacon Butty Racing. I mean, Yes, I approve of the people who came up with this name. It's absolutely mega under this championship. I reckon one person did it a few years ago and everyone else has just totally followed suit. And eventually you'll have a whole bunch of names that are just jokes and puns and all sorts of rude words.
Great stuff. Sometimes a team name is half the battle to winning the championship just by handling purposes. The window is now closed, but as you mentioned before, all coming out there and making the stop. And as far as we're aware, it is the window. So it now comes down to the last third of the race now. Just over 14 minutes to go, and Team Darkside lead by 2.7 seconds. We were talking about how fast that car was in qualifying. We weren't sure how that was going to translate to race pace, especially with the NGM Racing number 1 car. But what it has done is proven a great race, and strategy has had a big impact in this race.
Yeah, if there wasn't a pit stop in this one, NGM Racing would still be leading the win, is a simple way to put it. They came in for the stop, the VW stayed out, and Team Darkside was able to unleash that qualifying pace that they hadn't been able to do until that because they lost the jump from the line. So they were able to compensate for that, regain it with a strategical advantage, and now they lead the way. So not only pace, but also a whole lot of smart coming from that team. It's the perfect balance and harmony.
Yes, indeed. Handful of cars still on the lead lap. That's understandable because there's a range of car classes throughout the field. And I just see the FR Racing number 24 car pass the commentary box window. And there is the race leader crossing the line now. Team Darkside leading the way. 38.1 was their last lap time, within 0.2 of a second of their own personal best. And also the fastest lap of the race there, 37.961. There, number 68 going slightly slowly, going on the short run through towards the full bend. And then number 68, of course, is the team number 4. Hopefully that was just him getting out of the way of traffic, or that driver getting out of the way of traffic and get going again. But let's see what happens as they exit barn. Got the BMW there, the Red Seal racing car. And that 68 is still running in this race. And still getting on. So it was just probably just jumping out of the way of traffic. Don't have to do that, but decided that they might just save a little time if they did do that.
Yeah, it's one that if you're new to this sort of multi-class, long racing style format, you wouldn't want to do because it sucks to be overtaken, even if they are lapping you, even if they are in a much faster car. But ultimately, if you don't let them through politely, and they can't find a way through, eventually they're just going to send one on the brakes, and by the rules, you have to get out of the way because you can't defend the position. So you actually almost help yourself by going, I'll just go a little bit deeper this corner, you can swoop through, and then I'll tuck in behind and get a slipstream down the next straight. And you'll see this a lot in professional, world endurance. You watch something like, say, Le Mans, you'll see that happen a lot, where the GT cars don't have to get out of the way of the prototypes, but quite often they will, because it's actually quicker for their race time, despite the fact that they lift off to do it.
Yes, and as you say, they'll get a benefit of the slipstream down a straight, or get to follow a line through a couple of the corners. So it's worth doing because in the long run, you save yourself a bit of time being wasted by trying the battle, or at least trying to stay ahead of that car that's trying to pass you. It's an interesting one, but the brand new things go. Time in the long run. Just under 11 minutes to go. Team Darkside leads the way. NGM Racing 1 in second place, with Intelligent Money Racing in third, Red Seal Racing in fourth, Mangoes Racing in fifth place, with FR Racing currently in sixth, Team Norfolk in seventh place, FTP Motorsport in eighth, and it's the Team Air Supply car in ninth. Rounding off the top 10 is the number 3 NGM Racing.
I'm not entirely sure that the silver Porsche Boxster, which has been driven by either Fernando Gattino or Gary Martin, is actually where the Mangoes Racing car is about to lap them. They've defended definitively the position for a moment, then Mangoes Racing put the lights on them to start this straight, being like, hey, get out of the way, this is in fourth position, I'm a lap up on you, mate.
That's exactly what happened, and the Mangoes car did go through, so that's exactly what happened. You were describing that I was probably going to flash twice as it was happening right in front of me down the start finish straight. So I've got my own bit of comment there, which is fine.
Yeah, that was, like I say, I spotted the two, and I saw a defence being put up from the 30 Porsche Boxster. And I said, well, have I completely misread this? Have I just not read the timing screen correctly? Is my phone being really slow with connection? And I was like, no, he definitely is down. Like, he's just almost tried to squeeze the Magnus racing car off the track. So I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, now that I've brought it up, I have just grasped them up a little bit. But, but I'm sure the stewards will take a look at that if they can, if there's any sort of onboard cameras, because that was actually quite dangerous, I think, because the Senate would have been expecting a fight. They go to the inside, and then suddenly they're being squeezed towards the wall.
Yeah, I mean, if they do have footage, they can submit it to the clerk of the course. They can take action if necessary, but that will all have to be done after the race, maybe during it, who knows. But yeah, they can certainly appeal at the end of the race to the clerk of the course. Passing my commentary box window is the Red Seal Racing number 99 car. I'm a bit of a... orange and black liveries are probably my favourite liveries ever. So if you've got an orange and black livery, chances are I'm going to like it. And that Red Seal Racing livery looks quite nice, I've got to be honest.
I myself, I'm a fan of blue and bright yellow. Okay. No prizes for guessing why. We're at a bike circuit, people know what I'm talking about.
There's a slow Porsche, sorry to interrupt you there, the 68 Team Air Supply Porsche 944. Now that did look slow and there wasn't really any traffic around that car. Hopefully, well, see them come round the hairpin and then in towards Barn corner. Let's see what happens then. Hopefully it was a misgear. Because I want them still in the racing course. I want them to check the flag. So it goes through 40 minutes of racing. That looks like a car that's coming into the
it comes.
So this is going to be the number 68 car, the Team Air Supply car into the pit lane. Sorry. That looks like it's well out of the way of anybody else. Car comes to a stop then. Yeah. Didn't get to work and see what's the issue with the car. The driver is getting out. Look too promising. That car rejoining us 7 minutes 40 on the clock.
Yeah, a little bit awkward to say the least. Whilst we're talking about liveries, I think the underrated livery is just the all white. We saw it a little bit earlier in the... Was it a Pinto was running all white? It was lovely. And there was... in MotoGP test, I was about to say if anybody saw this, but I doubt they did, because I'm a host of podcasts, watch the test, and to be fair, I enjoy it. But the Ducati team had an all-white version of their MotoGP bike, and it looked so much better. It was ridiculous. You know, normally we're used to seeing cars with all sorts of stickers and fancy complex liveries in one age. If you just paint your car one colour and you've got a pretty car or bike or whatever it is that you're racing, Justin actually does the work for you, which is something we see less and less of.
Absolutely. And I'm looking to see all liveries tomorrow. Of course, we've got the all-comers coming tomorrow. And if you've not seen the all-comers before, then you're in for a treat, because it's, as the name implies, anything can turn up. And when they go racing, it's great to watch. It's fantastic, because it really does open up the opportunity of seeing it. As you said, I think you saw it at Bonington Park a few race weekends ago, that they are just, they turn up in whatever, and that's that.
Yeah, it's sort of equivalent to, you get track days and they allow a group of people with their cars to go on the track, but it's strictly no racing is the common rule added to that one. You just go around and you drive. You come to this, it's like a track day, but it's strictly racing. You remove the word no from that sentence, and it is absolutely mega. So you're in for a treat with that one. Not to mention all the series that you will already be excited about. Both the minis are going to be racing. Sports 2000 is going to have a great go at it. CNC Heads Championship, of course. It's going to be absolutely mega.
It is, and of course CNC Heads Championship, they had their qualifying abandoned earlier on today. They're going to be having done a 15-minute qualifying session after this race. So do stick around to see those cars and where they'll be positioned for tomorrow's race. One lap penalties being awarded here to FR Racing and Red Seal Racing. 1 lap penalties for short pit stops. I said they were draconian, that's flying, and they will drop down the field then. So that Seal then, 4th place at the moment. I wonder if that penalty has already been applied or whether it's going to be applied. In any case, that could be Darren Goes moving up into 4th place. I have to keep an eye on that and see how it changes. But yeah, they must have been close to 2 minutes, but being close to 2 minutes, being under, is not good enough. The 1 lap penalty we were all talking about as being such a harsh penalty, but penalty for being under 2 minutes in the pit lane.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough one. It's a very, very tough one.
Tough one.
I'm trying to figure out, I think Goes is a long way back, but on the same lap.
Yeah, that's what
So it's going to be pretty tight. If the Seal car get its foot down, it's currently 40 seconds ahead of Goes. We have 4 minutes left, which is a late time. You won't really be able to react to that. So you feel like it's probably going to go the way of Goes. But if it had been given, let's say, 20 minutes left on the clock, then I reckon there's a chance that the Seal guys try to put a lap on them.
Well, maybe. Well,
Just too late.
yes, just too late, unfortunately. Well, we'll have to wait and see, obviously. With just over 4 minutes left on the clock, then only a handful of laps to go. We'll probably get maybe 3 laps if we're lucky. Just depends on where the race leader is currently out of track. I think they're going to be making their way towards Mansfield, maybe towards the mountain anytime soon. That's the Team Dark Side, VW Golf. And wow, what a race they've had. What a day they've had as well. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and crucially, it's not all gone their way. They've showed them they have had to fight back. They did it with the strategy, although I think they might have been able to do it with the pace as well. They did show that they were very, very quick after we had delayed them and then got them going again. But either way, an absolutely marvellous performance, well deserving of a win here, assuming we don't commentators curse it in the last couple laps.
Yeah, I was willing to hold my tongue at that point. Actually, I say 68 car now rejoined the Team Air Supply team. Have got to work on that car. They've sent it back out, and obviously with just over 3 minutes to go, they're just now hoping that car will make it to the checkered flag. But they got the toolbox out, and they gave it some work. Let's see if it can make it to the line now and to the checkered flag. There's not long of this one left now.
Yeah, and this is going to be somewhat humbling, I think, here. Mango's racing past as if they're not even moving by Darkside. Now, yes, we'd expect a little bit of pace difference between the two. In fact, we'd expect a little bit of pace difference between the two. It is Class A versus Class S, but that was monster. It wasn't even close onto the straight. Goodbye. Like, there's definitely something not quite right with the Mango's car.
Yeah. And that car is normally at the pointy end of the field, no matter what track it goes to. So it's not been a good day for Diagnostics and Mango's racing. They'll want to see exactly what happened in today's proceedings. So 2 minutes on the clock then. Number 13 car, the Team Darkside racing team, make their way now on towards that short run, through towards the Hall Bend. They are your race leaders, and at the moment they had the pole position and the fastest lap of the race. They came around the hairpin and barn. It's going to be close then, whether this is going to be the penultimate lap that Team Darkside start, or whether it will be the final lap. It's going to be very, very close. I think this will be the final lap of this race. Yes, it will be the final lap of this race then, even if Team Darkside set their fastest lap of the race, which they didn't this time around. This is the final lap of the MSV Supercup here at Cadwell Park. Team Darkside lead then by 6.1 seconds ahead of NGM Racing 1.
Yeah, they've been looking pretty ominous. They've still been pushing, credit to them. It's not like they sat down and rested on their laurels. They have carried on putting in the good laps. Even on this last one, they were looking nice and clean and quick through Charlie's, up the hill. Lovely performance, and ultimately, yes, they got the jump. Yes, they were maybe outdone off the start because they had to mess around with tyre pressures so that they were good for the long run rather than just that launch off the line. But they had so much pace that they were always going to be able to come back from that little setback.
Absolutely. As the cars just fly past the commentary box window then. And we have just around about just over half a minute left on the clock. Of course, it will be timer expiring, and then the car will pretty much take the checkered flag. As the Team Darkside car make their way now up through the mountain, onwards, a short run towards Hall Bend on this final lap here of the MSV Supercup. Onwards through the Hall Bend. It's been the fastest lap of the race. They had the pole position too, and the hat trick is only 2 corners away from being confirmed for Team Darkside through the hairpin, and the verge from the barn corner up towards the start-finish line to take the checkered flag. The hat-trick is complete, and what a day it's been for Team Darkside, who win today's MSV Supercup race here. What a performance from the team and the drivers. That is the #1 car taking second place. MGM Racing won with Nick Jackson and Ollie Pidgley at the wheel of that one, taking a second place in the standings. It is going to be the number 13, Team Darkside, who take the win. They took the fastest lap and they also took pole position. The hat-trick is complete and they win this race by 10 seconds ahead of MGM Racing 1. And then it is the number 70 car, the Intelligent Money Racing.